Alright, so this is my FNAF movie review. I will have a non-spoiler version first, for those who just want no spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet or anything, then, and you know, this is, I guess the non-spoiler part is just for if people want to see if it's worth going to. And then the spoiler review you can watch if you already seen the movie, or if you don't care about spoilers. I will have timestamps in the description so you can skip around, or you can just like leave before the spoiler stuff starts. And yeah, so I guess let's start with the spoiler version, or non-spoiler version first. We're starting with no spoilers first, and then spoilers, so let's get into the non-spoiler review. Okay, so for the non-spoiler review, I want to say before I really get into it is that I have been in the FNAF fandom since the game started. So that was like 2013, 2014. I would have to check back when the game first came out, when FNAF 1 came out. But I was around 13 then. And so it's been like 10 fucking years. Or about 10 years about there that this thing has been going on. So it's a lot. So I don't know if there's going to maybe be a little bit of a bias, but at the same time, I feel like when it comes to movie adaptations of like games or books or whatever, animes, anything like that, I feel like what the fans say is kind of the important thing. Usually movie critics don't know what the fuck they're saying. Like, why are we listening to them? Or like game journalists and shit, like why should we listen to them? I feel like sure they probably went to some school for reviewing movies or games, but like did they grow up with that kind of thing? I mean everyone kind of grows up with movies and stuff. Or at least most people grow up with movies and stuff, and then a lot of people nowadays are growing up with video games. But I feel like when someone's like gonna review this movie adaptation or whatever of whatever, that's kind of just like, did you even take the time to play the games or read the books or watch the anime or read the manga or anything like before reviewing this? Like, were you a fan of it before? Like, I don't know. So I'm kind of like skeptical of them. So you know, that's kind of whatever. But yeah, seeing all the movie critics, I'm kind of just like, do you even know what you're talking about? Do you even know whatever? Which kind of brings me to my next thing. A lot of people were saying that they think if you aren't a FNAF fan before going into the movie, then you're probably not really gonna understand it. But I kind of felt like the opposite when I was watching it. But that could just be because I knew of the games before and I've been following the lore and everything since the beginning. Like, I've watched so many FNAF theory videos, like game theory, and a bunch of other YouTubers who did theories in the past. Like, I watched a lot of those and like people trying to put the lore together and the whole story. And so maybe it's, you know, because I know the story beforehand, so it wasn't that hard for me to understand. But I kind of felt like even if you didn't really know the story, you can still kind of be like, understand it easy enough. I don't know. I guess you guys can say in the comments below if you knew of FNAF or not before watching it and how well you think you understood it or how well you think other people could understand it. But yeah, I'm kind of just like, I don't know. Okay. Also, if you've, like, I think a lot of people know now that, like, Blumhouse made the FNAF movie, and if you've seen any of my movie review thingies, videos of Blumhouse stuff, usually I'm kind of just like that the movies are pretty bad. Like, I don't get scared of horror movies, really, but that's just me. That's any horror movie, really, not just Blumhouse movies, so that's kind of, I guess, just me not being scared of horror movies in general. But also at the same time, usually Blumhouse movies, I'm just like, the actors aren't that good, or the characters are just annoying or dumb or whatever, and the writing's just fucking like no. And then also like sometimes they're like, oh yeah, this creepy monster is here, but then once you see the monster, it's kind of just like, that looks dumb as fuck. Or like there has been a couple movies before where it's like they don't really show the monsters, but like if you just showed the monsters, people could see how good they look. Like the FNAF movie, the animatronics look fucking amazing. And I mean, there's animatronic versions and then costume versions, but either way, they look great. Of course, Foxy couldn't be a wearable one, but the other three could be costumes for people to move around in, and then they all had animatronic versions too, so the animatronics looked great, and then they actually like showed the animatronics. They didn't want to just do flashing lights all the time or anything, hiding in the darkness, all that. Like they actually showed the animatronics, and they actually showed the evil characters and stuff, so it's like, at least they didn't make the mistake of trying to hide the big bad characters or anything. But yeah, the actors and the acting weren't horrible, which they did have some actors in FNAF movie that were a little more well known, and some weren't that as well known, of course, but they had a couple that were more known from other things, and once you see them, you're kind of just like, oh hey. Also, they have some other people there that I think a lot of FNAF fans can be like, oh hey, I know that person. So there's that. Yeah, but yeah, if you're worried about it being scary, it's PG-13, so it's not really that scary. Or if you're worried about like blood and gore, there's not really that much of that either. So there's a couple moments where it's a little nasty with the like blood and gore, but it's not really over the top blood and gore everywhere. It's just a couple of moments that you see for like 2 seconds, so it's not really that bad. But I do wish there was actually an R-rated version. Like they could have the PG-13 version for whatever, so then maybe younger fans can see it and not have to see like all the nasty blood and gore and stuff. But I do wish there was an R-rated version, because I do feel like we didn't really get to see as much as we could have or we should have or whatever, so I kind of do wish there was an R-rated version. I could get more into that with the spoiler version, because there's some spoilers there that I'm kind of just like, I could talk more about that with spoilers, but we're not doing spoiler stuff right now. And then also, Markiplier is not in the movie. And that's not a spoiler, because he did make a video, or I think it was a live stream, saying he couldn't be in the movie. And that's because he was doing Iron Lung at the same time they were doing the FNAF shooting. And Iron Lung, I don't think there's a date for that out yet. But he just said it was soon. He does have a trailer up for it already. It's like a short little trailer that doesn't really show too much. It's literally just him standing there. But yeah, if you wanted to go see that trailer, you can just put Iron Lung in the search bar and it should probably come up. So, or just put Iron Lung trailer and it should come up probably. But yeah, he was filming his Iron Lung movie at the same time that FNAF was filming, so it was too much of a scheduling conflict or whatever. Like, he couldn't make room for the FNAF movie. Um, and we do know who he was supposed to be because we did see a picture of him on the wall with a bunch of other actors, and it said who he was supposed to be. And I don't think saying who he was supposed to be is that really that much of a spoiler, because like we see that scene. It's the first scene in the movie, so I don't think it's really much of a spoiler. So like the first like minute or so is the part that Mark was supposed to be in. So, I guess if you watch the movie, you will know who he was supposed to be within like the first like 2 seconds, because we see the person that he was supposed to be, I think. So, yeah, I remember that because yeah, I watched the movie a few days ago as of filming this video, so you know, I just wrote down some stuff that I wanted to talk about for the non-spoiler part. But yeah, I think that should kind of be it. But yeah, for this, like usually Blumhouse movies are kind of not that great to me. There's only been like maybe a couple that I thought were actually kind of good and not horrible for a Blumhouse movie, anyways. But yeah, the FNAF movie was one of their better movies. So I think that should maybe tell you something. So, like, if I don't like very many of their movies and then this was one of their better ones, then that should probably say something, I guess. So, yeah, it wasn't like there was a couple cheesy moments or a couple cheesy lines that characters said, but I think that kind of goes for any movie, really. Like every movie kind of has a little cheesy moment, I think. I think for animation, like they can get away with cheesy stuff, especially if they're going for like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be like a joke, or like, it's animation, so it's kind of like, who cares? Let it slide. Like, animation can do that, but with a movie that's live action, it's a little harder to get away with the more like jokey stuff, unless it's a comedy. But this here is supposed to be a horror movie, so it's kind of like it's a little harder to get away with those cheesy, jokey moments. There was some jokes that were actually like good, but there was some other like parts that were a little more like, okay, that's a little weird, but I guess it also at the same time can make sense with it. But I don't know. I guess it depends on the person. So, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Like, I was worried about it being a Blumhouse movie because I knew, like, from watching previous Blumhouse movies, I was like, they're not that good, they're not that great. So I was kind of worried, but at least it wasn't as bad. But I could just be having the whole bias thing because I know FNAF and I kind of grew up with it. So, it's a little. I don't know if people would really like. I don't know. I feel like it was also made for the fans, so it's kind of like, I can be biased, but at the same time, it was made for me, and people like me, so it's kind of like, who do you listen to then? But yeah, I think that will be it for the non-spoiler version part of this. So let's go with the spoiler version next. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then you can click off and, I don't know, go watch the movie. It's still in theaters, I think, because it's only been a few days, so it should be in theaters for like a few weeks, I think, because usually movies are in theaters for a while, unless there's like a movie coming back from however long ago and then they're like, hey, only for this weekend. But you know, new movies usually stay in the theaters for a while. And if you can't go to a movie theater, then you can go watch it on Peacock. You have to get a subscription for that. There are free movies on Peacock, but there's also ones that you can watch if you have a subscription for Peacock. So if you can't go to a movie theater for whatever reason, then you can just go get a Peacock subscription and watch it on there. So, you know, go watch it if you want to before the spoiler review. And yeah, I guess that's it for the non-spoiler reviews. So let's go to the spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here is the spoiler part of the video. I don't know how long it's gonna be. I hope this video is not gonna be too long, but yeah, let's go with the first part where Mark was supposed to be in the scene, but it ended up not working. But yeah, we see this night guard. He's like, you know, panicked and trying to get away from the animatronics, and then he ends up getting grabbed and put into this like torture thing. It's like a Freddy's version of the Saw, I guess. And yeah, he's dead. And then the credits are like the opening credits are super cool because they have like this 8-bit stuff and all that. And it's very much like, you know, the games had it where there was 8-bit parts of it, and there was like mini games that were 8-bit, so it's kind of cool that they added that into there. And then we see Mike, who is the main character, and he is working at this mall as a security guard or whatever. He's just security on his shirt, and then he's like talking to, I guess, his friend or whatever. And yeah, they have this book that's for dream theory, which does have to do with games. Like people theorized that FNAF 4 was a dream, so it's called dream theory. But this book, dream theory, does have to do with the plot, so it's not just oh hey fans. It's also has to do with the plot, so you know there's a reason why it's there. It's not just fan service there. So yeah. And then he gets fired because he saw this one kid, and then this dude went and grabbed the kid, and he thought that that guy was kidnapping the kid, and so he went and like attacked him, but it turns out that that was the kid's dad. So it's like, you know, after fucking up on that, he had to get fired, and then he has to go find a new job, and it's like, you know, after that it's gonna be a little hard for you to get a job now, because like you attacked someone for no reason, pretty much. I guess it wasn't for no reason, but you know, you jumped to a conclusion and beat someone up for no reason. And then we also, you know, find that like there's Abby, who is his younger sister, and he has legal guardianship over her because the parents aren't in the picture, and we find out more about that later. But yeah, he has to find a new job now for her, and you know, of course for himself, because he has to take care of her and himself. And you know, the dude he went to tells him that he doesn't have a lot of options for a job because of, you know, he fucked up on that. And then Mike's like, okay, thanks, I guess I'll leave. But then the dude's like, I do have a job for you though. It's a security job. And, yeah, it doesn't pay well, and it's not good hours. So Mike's like, I can't do nights. And, you know, he can't do nights because of Abby. But like, when he goes home, he does have a babysitter, so he could just have her take care of her. So I don't know why he's like, I can't do nights. I guess he didn't want to keep the babysitter there overnight, so like, I don't know, but yeah, he didn't want to do that. And then he goes to sleep and has a dream. Also, when he got home, we did see that there was like a notice thing, I guess, for like, you know, there's like convention, or I don't know, I can't say the word now. I said it right earlier, but now I can't say it. Like, but he had a notice on his door, and it's like, you know, because he's not doing too well, then they're putting notices on his door and stuff, so it's kind of yikes, but yeah. So when he goes to sleep, he has a dream of when he was younger and his younger brother got kidnapped and went missing, and they assume he's dead. And so, yeah, and then he wakes up, and then there is a family court matter, and that is where we meet their aunt. I forgot her name, but I don't think it's that important. I'm just gonna call her Karen because she is a Karen, so, you know, she acts like a Karen, so it only makes sense that I call her Karen anyways. So, you know, I'm just gonna call her that. But yeah, so this aunt wants to have custody over Abby, because, like, you know, Abby's like 10 or something. I don't know if we really found out her age. I don't remember ever seeing her age in the movie, or like learning her age in the movie, so yeah, she's a minor though, so she can't, you know, she has to have a legal guardian. And the aunt is like, keeps trying to get custody over her, even though it's like Abby doesn't like her, so it's kind of just like, you know, she doesn't want to have their aunt as her legal guardian. And then, you know, the aunt was like saying how Abby was mentally ill because all she does all day was draw, and it's kind of just like, what the fuck are you, what, does this bitch not know anything about children? Like, drawing is a normal thing that people do, especially when they're children. I just, like, why would you bring up the fact that she draws? Like, kids draw all the time, so I'm like, what? I'm so confused about that part. That line is just, like, so weird. But yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? And then, the person that they were talking to, it's, you know, they work at this whatever for children, and like, I guess adoptions and all this whatever for people being legal guardians over minors and stuff. And she even tells Mike that that whole drawing thing is important, and kids and like literally anyone drawing, it's like, it's another form of communication. It's not just drawing pictures, it's also art, you know, it's a story, it's communication, so, you know, it's important, and her drawings are important later. That's why they kept kind of focusing on drawings and stuff. And then, since the aunt was trying to, you know, do all that shit, then Mike was like, you know, I'm just gonna take the job. Even though it's night shift and everything, he takes the job. And then he has a dream again, and his dreams are important, where, you know, he keeps trying to figure out what happened to his brother. And then, like, you know, he takes the job, and he's, you know, he goes to Freddys, and for, you know, I guess he falls asleep at Freddys, even though he was, like, supposed to be watching the place. Like, the entire point of being a security guard at a place is to make sure no one gets in and stuff, so it's kind of like, why are you falling asleep on the job? But he dreams again, but then there's these ghost kids that show up, and it's like, where did you come from? He's like, who the hell are you? And then they all run away, and he tries to go after them, but they all, they run away, and he trips and falls and all that. And then the next thing we see is at this diner, and then there's the Karen and a lawyer that she has, and then there's 2 other people. Some random guy we hadn't seen yet, really, and then the babysitter that we saw that was at Mike's house. So now we know that the babysitter is not who she says she is, I guess. Like, she's basically working with the aunt to try to, like, sabotage Mike, and it's kind of like, bitch, what the fuck? Also, in this diner scene, we see MatPat. He is, a known FNAF YouTuber from Game Theory, and so, of course, a lot of FNAF fans are going to, notice him. He's there for, like, 2 seconds, he says a couple things and leaves. And yeah, but at the diner they make up this whole thing about shattering everything. They want to like break in to Freddys and do all this stuff, and yeah, they want to dig up some dirt, and the babysitter, like, she couldn't dig up any dirt on him at his house, so the other dude there, like, I don't know if, like, he, I guess, is a friend of the babysitter's, so they, like, know each other, I guess, but, like, he comes up with the idea to break into Freddy's and, like, just smash a bunch of stuff and, like, kind of mess up the place a little bit. And then we go to Abby wanting to come with Mike to his job because she wants to go see Freddys, but he's like, no, you can't. And then the babysitter shows up so he can go to work, and then he's like, okay, I gotta go. And then he goes to work, and he has a dream at work. And then it's a little, like, different where he goes after the kids. And then he gets injured. He gets scratched on his arm. And then when he wakes up, he has the scratch on his arm still. So even though he got scratched in the dream, it shows up in real life too. So it's kind of like, what the hell? Why is it there when, it's a little weird. And then, there was all this noise happening that woke him up, and then he had to, like, turn off the power to make it stop, and then he turned the power back on, and then he sees that there is a police officer outside, and she's, like, ringing the doorbell, and then he, like, opens the door to see what she wants, and she's, she knows what Freddy's is. Like, she knows the place pretty well, and she notices that he's bleeding, and she's like, oh, I know where the first aid kit is, I can fix it up for you. And then she also, like, tells him a few things about, like, the kids that happened, or, like, the kids went missing there a long time ago, and that's why the place is, like, abandoned and whatever. And, I mean, I guess it's not really abandoned, it's just not used forever because the person who owned it before still owns it and he doesn't want to let it go. But yeah, and then she shows him, like, the Showtime thing, so they hit this button, and then the animatronics turn on and they start, like, dancing and singing. But then Bonnie, like, malfunctions and kind of, like, sparks a bit, and so he's a little broken. And, they do whatever. And then it goes to daytime, and he's done with his shift, so he leaves. And then we see the guy from the diner. He's there to break in and mess stuff up. And then there's a few other dudes there to help him mess some stuff up. And so, you know, they open this door because they get it open, and they start smashing stuff, stealing coins from the arcade machines. They start knocking stuff over, all this stuff, and breaking the chairs and all that, like taking bats and like smashing glass and all this. And then this guy is in the kitchen of the pizzeria, and there's something moving around in the, like, I guess it's like the fridge or whatever. And then he opens one door and there's nothing, and he opens the other door and the cupcake is there. If you know, Chica holds the cupcake, and then he turns around and Chica's standing behind him, and he gets attacked by the cupcake, and we see him, you know, on the floor, and the cupcake's like got its jaws around his face and it's eating him, I guess. And then one of the other guys sees him getting attacked or whatever, and then he runs away, and he's like running away. The other dude who we saw at the diner earlier, he sees the other guy freaking out on the cameras running away, and he's kind of just like, hey, what the hell, why are you freaking out? And the guy like locked himself in a like supply closet or whatever, and so it was like for the janitor stuff to, like, you know, clean the place. He locked himself in that closet, and he didn't know that Bonnie was in there because it was dark, and then, you know, Bonnie attacks him and kills him. We don't see him die though, really. We just see through the foggy glass. You know, usually some glass has that, like, whatever, I forget what it's called, but it's like tinted, or not tinted, but it's like fogged up forever or whatever. It's like, it's made to be like that, so you can't really completely see through it. I guess if you know what that's called, you could put it in the comments. It doesn't really matter that much anyways, but we do see a bloody handprint go on the window though. And then Bonnie comes out, and the other dude's like, oh my god, what the fuck, and he runs away. But then he gets killed by Foxy. And then, when Mike was with Vanessa before the breaking in thing, she gave him a badge thing, but it was from the prize corner, so it wasn't like official, so it was just like a Freddy's badge thing. And then the next day after later that day, Vanessa shows up at Mike's house and tells him that, oh wait, I'm gonna forget about the other thing, right? I think I forgot about the other thing. Before Vanessa shows up, Mike tries to give Abby the badge thing. That's where I was going when I mentioned the badge, and then I completely forgot there for a second. But Mike tries to give Abby the badge, but she kind of like brushes him off because he was kind of a jerk earlier in the movie. And then he like puts it in one of the drawers and leaves, and then Abby gets up and tries to open the drawer, but it's like really hard to open or whatever, and then she like pulls on it and pulls on it and pulls on it, and then finally gets open but falls on the floor. And so there's like all this noise, and then he's like, you know, has to go make sure she's okay. And then she sees the papers of you know, the whole custody battle thing with their aunt, and then she's like, oh, I don't like her, you know. Abby says she doesn't like their aunt because she's a Karen, because why would you like that? And then that's where Vanessa comes in and shows up at the house, and she's like, someone broke into Freddy's, and, you know, I need to find out what happened so then you don't get in trouble for this, because once the case is submitted, she can't do anything about it. So, yeah, and then they go somewhere and sit on this little, like, I think it was just like some slab of concrete, I think, or whatever. It was like it was like elevated concrete or some shit. I don't know, it was kind of weird just sitting there. But, she also found the sleeping pills that he was using because he went to Freddy's and did his dream thing there. And so she was like, you know, you can't be sleeping on the job and then like be too tired to work and all that. And you need to do your job and make sure everything's locked away so then no one breaks in because that's important. And then he tells her about how he has to be the legal guardian for Abby because his parents aren't there. His mom died, and the dad left because he couldn't deal with the whole mom thing. And he also tells her about his brother, and he would like dream every night trying to figure out clues for his disappearance and all that. And, that sort of thing. And she's like, okay, but you still can't be sleeping on a job, and you still can't be out of your whatever. You have to be alert and awake and trying to make sure no one breaks in and stuff. Even though the break-in happened after he was done with the shift, it was still like they still got in because he didn't lock the doors, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, but then she like takes the pill bottle and like throws it in the river that they were sitting by, and it's like you can't do that. That's not great for the environment. Like, stop. Don't do that. You should know that it's not good for the environment to just throw. It's a plastic bottle for one. Also, it's pills. Like, you can't just throw it in the water. That's bad. So it's just like, why? Just why? But yeah, oh right, also for when they were breaking in, the other dudes died, and then also the babysitter. I forgot to mention the babysitter, but she also went there to go see the other guys because they weren't answering any of her calls or anything, so she went in there to check on them, and then she, like, went to this back area where they, like, repair the robots, and then she goes up to Freddy and gets eaten by him. So, yeah. So, yeah, he tried calling her, but of course she doesn't answer because she's dead. And so he had to bring Abby with him to work. And so he sets up this thing for her to sleep, and then, she goes to sleep. And he has to go clean up the pizzeria because it's all, messed up from the break-in. And yeah, that was part of his job where he has to, like, make sure no one breaks in and clean up the place if it needs to be cleaned. And he does that, and then he goes back and he falls asleep and has another dream. He tries talking to the ghost kids, but he, didn't really get much out of them. And Abby, as he was sleeping, she got up to go to the bathroom, and then she goes to see the animatronics. And then Mike wakes up to her screaming, but she wasn't screaming because they were attacking her. She was screaming because they were tickling her. And then, he runs out there to see what's happening to go make sure she's not being killed or anything. But Freddy kind of goes after him a little bit to be like all threatening. But then Abby has to tell everyone that it's fine. But then Mike's still just like, we should get out of here. And because, of course, it's like, stay away from the animatronics because they're, kind of dangerous and big. So it's kind of like, probably don't want a child near that. So, And then after they get home, he puts her to bed because, she didn't sleep for a while there. But then he looks at all the drawings she was drawing, and they all look like the ghost children that he was having in his dream. And he's kind of just like, what the hell, They all look the same. And so he's like, she knows who these are. And then later, as she's eating, he kind of confronts her and he's like, you know who they are then. And she's like, yeah, they're ghost children. Like, it's, it's like, kids aren't as dumb as you think they are. Like, they still know things. and he tries to ask her to, you know, find out what happened to their brother. Because, like, he does say something about, like, oh, I don't talk about our brother that much. And then she was like, oh, mom and dad don't talk about him much either. And so he was like, can you ask the ghost children what happened to him? And she's like, oh, yeah, I can try to see if I can figure that out. And then, so they go back to Freddy's, but this time, Vanessa's there. And, you know, they're kind of just chilling. Abby's saying hi to the animatronics and all that. And, like, Vanessa's a little, like, you know, whatever. And then they start, like, building a giant, like, fort thing, like a pillow fort, blanket fort, you know. Usually you take, like, chairs and blankets and stuff and, like, put them all into, like, make a cave sort of thing. And I did think that this part was a little, like, weird, but at the same time, it's like the animatronics are possessed by children, so, you know, they're acting like children. They want to make a blanket fort because that's what children do. So I guess it's like, okay, I guess that makes sense then. But, you know, I guess it's like that added cheesiness of a FNAF game or FNAF movie. And then they're like talking about stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, go get more like stuff to put here. Go get like blankets and whatever. And then Mike's like, oh yeah, I should go help her and like look for stuff to put. And then he tells Abby, as they're like, asks animatronics how like if they know what happened to their brother, and he leaves to go help Vanessa find some like blankets and stuff. And so they go to this like storage area, and they find this animatronic that is a spring lock suit. And you know, it's like nasty. Also, the face of the animatronic, it's like this doll thing. At first I thought of Baby or Blora, that sort of thing, because it's, you know, this doll looking thing has the rosy cheeks, the red lips, and all that. But actually, someone pointed out that she is probably that doll on the cover of one of the books. So I was like, oh, yeah, that probably is kind of like what it's supposed to be. But like when I watched the movie the first time, I was like, it looks like it should be like Baby or Blora. But I don't think Baby or Blora are springlock suits, are they? So probably not. And she looks like she has a little bit different stuff going on there, so it's probably not the same. And Mike's like, what is that? And Vanessa's like, oh, that's dangerous. Like, the spring-locked suits, like, what they do, if you don't know what they do, is that they are animatronic, but also costumes. They're like a hybrid thing, so you can have them in animatronic mode, or you can have them in a wearable mode. So you can either just have it be an animatronic, or you can wear it and do stuff, but it's really dangerous to wear because sometimes they can lock up and stab you and rip you apart, so it's probably best to not wear it. But yeah, she shows him what it does and how like janky they are, and like, you know, it's easy to trip them off and like make them you know, be horrible. And Vanessa was also like kind of upset that he brought Abby with because it's dangerous, so she was like, you know, telling him off a little bit about that. And then they come back, and the animatronics are like kind of playing a song and stuff. They're like kind of partying a little bit. And then Abby goes up to Bonnie because, you know, he has his guitar, and she goes to strum his guitar, and it kind of blows up on her because, you know, Bonnie, back when they did the Showtime before, he kind of fritzed out a little bit. He kind of, you know, broke a little bit, so when she strummed his guitar, then it kind of sparked at her, blew up on her. And then, yeah, they tried to stop her, but she still did it. And then she woke up and was fine, I guess. But then when they went to leave, Vanessa was like, I don't want you bringing her around here again. Like, if you bring her around here again, I will shoot you. And then, yeah. So then Mike calls their aunt and is like, he might make Abby have to go with her. But Abby was like, I hate you. No. Like, they both hate their aunt. Like, she hates her aunt so much that she's like, no. And then she, like, scribbles Mike's face out on, like, all the drawings she made. She's, like, really mad about it and stuff. And then he has to go to work, so the aunt has to babysit him. And, he goes to work even though it's the middle of the day. But before he goes to work, he gets his sleeping pills again. So he goes to the place where you can get your medication, the pharmacy, and then he goes to work, and then he dreams, and here is where the ghosts are like, hey, you can have this all you want. Like, you can, be with your family, be with your little brother, be with both your parents, and be happy with them, just sit with them and have a good time. And if you can have this, if we get Abby, give us Abby and we will let you have this every night. Every night you can be with your family and be happy and all this, as long as you give us Abby. And at first he's like, yeah. He says yes at first, but then he's like, wait, that's a horrible idea. Like, what am I thinking? I can't just give them Abby. Like, they can't just keep her here at the pizzeria forever. Like, no. And so he says no, and then all of a sudden, the animatronics start attacking him. In real life, outside of the dream world, Foxy is coming down the hallway. And then in the dream world, all the animatronics, all the ghost children are like attacking him and scratching him. And remember, in the other dream, when he got scratched in the dream, he also got scratched in real life. So all the scratches that are happening in the dream here are happening in real life. So he's getting injured really badly in real life because they're like, doing multiple scratches. And then when he wakes up in the Saw torture thing that we saw at the beginning of the movie with the other night guard. So they're trying to kill Mike. But then he undoes a screw and it releases one hand, and then he tries to hit the button to make it stop, and then he slips right out of the thing, or he tries to hit the button to undo his other one, and then he slips down and gets away from it. And then we also see a glimpse of a lot of the other people who previously died, all the people that broke in. We get to see all their dead bodies sitting there. So yeah, it's pretty nasty just seeing them sitting there, even if it's 2 seconds. But he tries to run away, all injured, and then Foxy comes after him. And then back at the house, we see the aunt is like babysitting her, and Abby's like locked herself in her room because she doesn't want to be around the aunt, because she's Karen, she's a bitch, like no one wants to be around her. But then we see Freddy is in the house, the animatronic, and it's like, where did he come from? Also, it's a different Freddy though, because his ear's missing and he has blue eyes, and it looks kind of like Golden Freddy. So they're kind of like, it's kind of like, why is Golden Freddy here? And then Abby sees him there, and she's like, oh, one of my friends is here. And he's like, come with us, come to the, pizzeria. And she's like, how do we get there? And then they get a taxi, and we see Corey Kenshin. And we actually, saw Corey Kenshin in the trailers, so we kind of knew he was in here. So it's kind of, what's cool that he's here. And it's kind of a funny moment. And then we see Mike wake up, so he didn't die or anything. But, Vanessa found him and she like bandaged him up and stuff, and she tells him about a bunch of stuff. And then we also see Abby going to the pizzeria with Freddy, and Freddy disappears, or it's Golden Freddy or whatever, and then it goes back to Mike and Vanessa, and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit. Yeah, so then, yeah, you know, Vanessa's telling him a bunch of stuff, and then she tells him that she is actually William Afton's daughter. And then Mike is like mad that she knew all this stuff all along, but didn't tell him. And so it's just like, you know, well, of course he's gonna be mad. Like, why wouldn't he be mad, you know? She shows him a picture of her when she was a kid standing next to Golden Freddy, who isn't all messed up. He's like all intact. He's not messed up or dirty or anything, because that was the time that it was supposed to be, you know, running. And she actually has the same airplane that his younger brother had back in the day when he got kidnapped. So, yeah, Mike is mad about it, and then Abby's, you know, with the animatronics and stuff. And then they're like, hey, we gotta go save Abby, because the animatronics want to steal her and stuff. And so, you know, Vanessa's kind of like, I don't want to go back there. I can't go back there. She doesn't like it there. And then she gives Mike a taser, because it'll stun them, and, like, you know, it'll give them a couple minutes or a few seconds to run away. And then, so then he has to go by himself. He drives over there. He has to break in through a vent, because they'll notice him coming through the doors. And then Chica lures Abby to one of the back rooms. She actually lures her into the one room that kind of has death stuff in it. And then Bonnie and Freddy are kind of making sure no one comes in, and then Mike has to, like, get around them and, like, you know, put them out of commission for a little bit. But Chica brings Abby to the nasty room where they kill people, I guess. And then Mike has to get there and fry her, like he did with the other two. And then she's like, oh, Chico's trying to hurt me, and like Chico was literally trying to put Abby into the springlock suit that we saw earlier, into that doll looking thing, and it was like, you know, nasty. But yeah, she was like, oh, she's trying to hurt me. And then the cupcake is still awake though, and the cupcake goes chewing on Mike's leg, and Mike is like trying to get away, but then, like, you know, he tells Abby to run, because it's like, you know, they're trying to get her out of everyone. And so then Mike has to taser the cupcake and get away from him. But Foxy is still awake. Foxy is not tasered. He's not, you know, he's not fried right now. So Abby has to hide from him. She hides in the ball pit, and Mike runs out, and then Springtrap shows up. And he's, like, attacking Mike, and, like, he has a knife and everything. And, like, Mike tries to taser him, but it doesn't do anything. And then Vanessa shows up and saves Abby, and, like, tasers Foxy and gets her out. And then Vanessa and Abby show up to save Mike from Springtrap, and Vanessa has her gun, because, you know, she's a police officer, so she's, like, pointing her gun at him, and then he takes his mask off, and we get to see what he looks like under the suit. Vanessa tries to shoot at him, but it doesn't really do anything, and Abby tries to wake Mike up, but he's, like, kind of, you know, he's all injured and stuff, but, you know, he's kind of out of it a bit. And then, you know, Afton and or Vanessa are like fighting and whatever, and she's like trying to, you know, get him away from everyone, and he like tries to strangle her, and then Abby tries to get him to stop, and then he actually ends up stabbing her. He ends up stabbing Vanessa. He doesn't stab Abby, he stabs Vanessa. And then Abby's like, hey, I could draw. Or Mike tells Abby to draw the golden rabbit killing the kids. He's like, hey, show them what happened. Show them who he really is. Because Afton is somehow controlling them and like making them evil, and so Abby has to draw that, and then the animatronics see the drawing and they're like, oh, now we remember, and then they like go to kill him, and they like do whatever stuff, and since the Spring Bonnie suit is a spring lock suit, it locks up on him and starts stabbing him and stuff and ripping him apart, and they watch him as he suffers, and you know, he does the famous I always come back thing, and, you know, the thing that FNAF fans all know. Some people have said that was kind of a cheesy line, which, yeah, it's kind of, you know, a little whatever. And then Mike and Abby have to, like, help Vanessa out because she, you know, she was stabbed, and now she's kind of whatever. And then the animatronics drag Springtrap away. They drag William Afton away, and he's like dying as they drag him away. And then after that, it looks like Mike and Abby get to stay together. He gets to still have custody over her. And then Vanessa's also in the hospital. And then they're kind of like, you know, will we ever see them again? Who knows? And then after that, we see William Afton / Springtrap in the back room, still twitching around, and they lock him there. So they're gonna trap him and keep him there for as long as they can, because, you know, back in the day, they were killed and locked away for years and years, so they're gonna do the same thing that he did to them. And then credits roll, and you can see drawings and stuff and whatever in the credits. And then there's like a little scene where Corey Kenshin comes back and he's like sleeping in a taxi, and it's kind of like funny little whatever thing, not too important to the story, but yeah. Anyways, then, you know, rest of the credits roll, and that's it. There's no like end credit scene that's really important. It's just that we see Springtrap in the back room twitching around. But yeah, so yeah, there was a couple things that were a little cheesy-ish, and a couple things that were a little whatever. I do wish there was more, like, you know, we didn't really see anyone die except for the one babysitter, whatever her name was. We saw the lower half of her fall on the ground after she got maunched by Freddy, and then that was kind of it. We saw the one dude getting mauled by the cupcake, but it was just like the cupcake was on top of him with his jaws open. We didn't really see too much else. So, like, afterwards, we did see a little bit more of what that looked like, but, you know, it was kind of not much. And then when the one dude died from Bonnie, we didn't see anything like that. And the other dude, we didn't see Foxy kill him. We didn't see Foxy get Mike, really, either. And then Springtrap, we kind of did see him get, you know, killed, I guess. But I think if we got an R-rated version, then we would see all the deaths and not just aftermath and stuff. So, you know, I kind of wish there was an R-rated version for older people and for people who would want to see a little more darkness in there. So, you know, yeah. Also, Vanessa mentioned, like, when she told him that William Afton was her dad, she also told him it wasn't just the spirits in the animatronics, it was also their bodies. So, you know, it is kind of dark for PG-13, but at the same time, it's like you could do an R-rated version. It can work with the lore of this whole thing. Like, even the books can be really nasty and brutal and gory. Like, you know. So they could do an R-rated version if they really wanted to. Like, the games don't really show much. You mostly just hear about it from like Phone Guy and stuff, and you don't really see much. And like the 8-bit mini games don't really show too much, but the books, you know, if they wanted to, they could do M-rated game or R-rated movie, whatever, and it can be really nasty if they did that. But of course, I guess, you know, they're trying to go with more availability to a wider audience with a PG-13 rating. So, yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if Scott would really want to do R-rated version, even though it's like the books are nasty. Like, you know, you could do R-rated version. Come on, Scott. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to do, you know. But yeah, again, like it's kind of like there could have been more to it if it was R-rated, I think. So, I don't know, but I guess it's fine for PG-13, but PG-13 kind of holds it back a little bit, so I don't know. But what do you guys think about it? Again, like, it's better than a lot of other Blumhouse movies, I can say anyways, even though it's like the FNAF movie was made for FNAF fans, and I was a FNAF fan long before the movie was made, so we were waiting like, what, 8 years for the movie? And you know, we've had this series for like 10 years. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess that's kind of it for this thing. I don't think there's anything else I need to talk about. That's kind of it. So, like, would I recommend this movie? For FNAF fans, I would say yes, I can recommend it. But if you aren't a FNAF fan or you don't really know much about FNAF, I don't know, maybe watch someone play at least the first game and maybe the third, because then you would know because like this was mostly based off of FNAF 1, and then FNAF 3 is the game with Springtrap and with the Springlock suits, so, you know, you could watch someone play FNAF 1 and 3. FNAF 2 has, like, the toy animatronics and the withered animatronics, and those don't really show up here, so, you know, you could just stick with 1 and 3 and then watch the movie, and it should be pretty understandable then. But even without that, I feel like I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to, like, understanding it, because a lot of people are just, like, confused, I guess, even though I feel like it should be pretty easy to understand. I don't know, but anyways, I guess that will be it though, so bye.